So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you find today's session informative. It is being recorded, so if people that you know weren't able to log in today, that they will be able to access this probably later today. We're getting last night's recordings up on the website later today. We should be able to get this one as well. So I'd like to thank Dr. Hudson for being part of this meeting today. And also joining us is Ryan Jacobellis, our Director of Facilities, and Terry Culhane, our Director of Safety and Security, and Denise Stevenson is our Director of E&L and World Languages. And thank you, Ms. Stevenson, for serving as our moderator today and through all of our parent meetings. So we understand what a difficult time this is for families. How challenging some of the decisions that you have to make have been. It's the staff, the teachers, the administrators. We've been working around the clock all summer, trying to put the best possible plan forward, knowing that we have limitations in what we can and can't do. As you know, we just don't have enough space in the district, and we don't have enough staff in the district to bring our students back 5 days a week, full time. We certainly wish we could, because that we know is the best possible education students can receive, is with a teacher in front of them, full classes. You know, middle school is an important time. The socialization aspect is important. The academic aspect, of course, is very, very important. And it's difficult for everyone to know that we needed to split the students into 3 cohorts or groups. So I'll get into the presentation, and then there will be an opportunity to ask questions, which we'll answer. So let me share the screen. Okay. All right. So if you have questions for us, we'll be answering them later on, but you can click on the Q&A button that's at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a desktop or a laptop or a cell phone, if you're on an iPad, that Q&A button should be at the top of your screen. So you'll type your question and we'll read it aloud and answer it later on in the session. So for secondary, for the middle school, there's 2 choices. There's a hybrid model and a full virtual model. So the hybrid model is, like I mentioned, is 3 cohorts or 3 groups of students. They will attend 2 consecutive days in a 6-day cycle for in-person instruction. The students will have their regular schedule of 8 periods. They'll change classes. They will have lunch, in the middle school's case, in the cafeteria. Some of these, this is for high school and middle school, this presentation. So if you have someone in the high school, that presentation's later today. They will be eating lunch in the cafeteria or in another large space in the building if necessary. And we are still keeping the open campus for juniors and seniors with parent or guardian permission. So the students on this hybrid model, on the other 4 days of the 6, they'll be learning from home. But what we've decided to do, and our teachers have been wonderful, and they have been receiving training over the summer, and September 1st and 2nd, they'll receive additional training as needed. They're going to record a portion of their lesson. So students that are at home will be able to log into Google Classroom and see the recorded lesson, which will include a slideshow like what you're seeing now, which is what the teachers will also have for the students in front of them in the classroom, with the voiceover made by the teacher. It may not be a full 45 minutes for each class. It may be a portion of the lesson. And then the teacher will also have assignments in Google Classroom for the students to complete. So we thought it was very important to do our instruction this way on a secondary level, because with 3 cohorts, if we have to do this for a full year, that's only 60 days of in-person instruction. And we need to make sure that our students are prepared academically, and they need to get through that entire curriculum, whether they're in middle school or high school. So this way of doing things will allow that to happen. And by recording the lessons, we recognize that families may not all be able to have their students log in live at the same time. So by recording the lessons, it allows the flexibility for students to be able to log in and do their lessons at some point during the day. So the important piece during the in-person days, the teachers will be able to provide the students with the additional direction. There'll be very small classes, a lot of individualized instruction and attention, and helping the students navigate Google Classroom and make sure that they're able to complete everything that they need to do when they're home. So for those that are opting for the full remote or full virtual model, they too will access the same recorded lessons instead of 4 days, all 6 days in the cycle. So on the high school level, there may be some electives that just won't be available for the full remote option because they require materials that the families won't have at home. So again, all assignments will be posted on Google Classroom. And we wanted to give the flexibility because this is such an unknown time, and families are making decisions, whether it's in person, the hybrid model, or full remote. We wanted to give families the opportunity to make the change if they feel that the other option is better. So we just ask that have patience with us when you contact your building administration. If you want to make that change, it may take us 5 school days, maybe a couple more, a couple less, to make sure that we have everything in place so that we can accommodate the students who flex back and forth between the options. So grading and attendance, we are going to have full report cards and progress reports as if the students were full-time in person. So it's going to look a little bit different from what it looked like in the spring. They will get regular grades like they would typically get in a typical year. And attendance will be taken on a daily basis. So if the student is in person, that's easy. It will be the typical in-person attendance taking. But for students who are on the hybrid model for the 4 days at home or full remote, full virtual model, the teachers will, in this case, use Google Classroom. We expect the students to log in every day. So there will be assignments every school day for the students to complete. But it is important to note the difference, that if the teacher sees activity in Google Classroom, that the student logged into their class that day, they will get credit for attendance. That does not mean that that's what their grade is going to be on the report card. That will be determined by the effort that they put in, just like if they were in person, the effort that they put into their classroom and the work that they do. So cohorts, I'll jump right to grade 7 through 12. Siblings will be in the same cohort unless you request otherwise. So our K-6 students are going to be in person on either Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. If you have other children that are in middle school and high school, you may wish to have your middle schooler and high schooler in 2 separate cohorts, because then they'll be home on different days to perhaps assist with childcare for your elementary students. So that's something to think about. If you need a specific request, please contact your building principal, Dr. Hudson, and he and his staff will make sure that your request is accommodated. So the cohorts in grades 7 through 12 are generally determined alphabetically, A through F, G through N, O through Z by last name, but there may be some exceptions as the principals balance the cohorts and look at the needs of each individual classroom. And the principals are all busy preparing information in a summer mailing that will go home by the end of next week. Please have patience. There's a lot of moving parts here. The survey only closed on Monday. If you did not get a chance to respond to the survey, please call your child's school, and the clerical there will take the information over the phone so that we have the information about your family and what your wishes are. So mask protocols. We do expect all students and staff to wear masks basically all day long, from the time that they get on the bus to they enter the building, in hallways, in bathrooms, in classrooms. When they arrive in the cafeteria for lunch, they should have their mask on. If they go up to the lunch line to pick up lunch, they should have their mask on. But when they sit down at the table to actually eat their lunch, obviously they can take their mask off at that time. We are also going to have mask breaks on the secondary level. They will be the students who will all be seated six feet apart, at least in the classrooms. They will be able to take their mask off at the teacher's instruction the last 3 minutes of each class. So we do ask parents, guardians to provide your child with at least one, preferably 2 or 3 masks in their backpacks every day, because they will be wearing them for the majority of the school day, and that's probably very different than the amount of time they've been wearing masks up to this point. But our priority is the safety and the health of all of our students and staff members, and we feel it is in the best interest to maintain that 6 feet minimum social distancing with masks in addition whenever the students are indoors. So that is the decision that we're moving forward with. A reminder, the students haven't been wearing masks as often as this. It's a good idea to determine some schedule for regular maintenance of the masks and washing them. That's why it's good to have a couple of spare masks for your child. If a child gets on the bus without a mask or reports to school without a mask, we will have masks to provide. But again, we do encourage you to provide masks for your children. So as I mentioned, health and safety are the top priority here. And if your child has any symptoms of COVID and or fever over 100 degrees before they even leave the house in the morning, please keep them home. It is recommended that you would consult with your medical provider to determine if COVID-19 testing is needed. If a student becomes ill during the school day, the student will be sent home and again advised to see a medical doctor or a medical professional. The student won't be permitted back to school without a letter from the physician stating that they're not infected with COVID-19 and that they are safe to return to school activities. We will have an isolation room in each of the schools where if students are exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19 and are waiting to be picked up, they will wait in the isolation room, because we recognize that there are students who need to go to the nurse's office for other reasons, to pick up medication. They may get injured that are not related to symptoms that could be COVID-19. So we want to keep those students separated from students who are exhibiting those symptoms. So if a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19, the testing lab will send that information to the Suffolk County Department of Health. We do ask families to please let the school know if you have a positive test result, and the district will work with the Suffolk County Department of Health to perform the contact tracing required so that we can make sure that anyone who's come in contact with the person who tested positive follows the protocols that the Department of Health tells us that we need to share. We do have a system ready to go where we'll be doing temperature checks as the students arrive at school. Our custodians are ready. They've been cleaning all summer, and they will be performing frequent cleaning throughout the school day. Disinfecting will happen after school and evenings. We have purchased barriers for small group instruction and testing. So on the secondary level, guidance counselors, psychologists, social workers, they will have access to those barriers. So when they're meeting with small groups of students or individual students, still with a mask on, they have that extra level of protection, because in some cases you need to be in closer proximity to take care of conversations or testing. And all of our classrooms will have the desks 6 feet apart in the same direction, as per the guidance that we've received. So this is a photo of what our hallways will look like. Right now we're working on finishing up the cleaning process and moving furniture, and the hallways will have tape down with directional information, encourage signage encouraging 6 feet apart, wearing masks. So this is done to control traffic and promote social distancing. And here's a couple more photos. These are taken from our high school, but this will be the case in all of our buildings. And computers, we are still going to distribute Chromebooks in grades 3 through 12 and iPads in grades K through 2 for those who need. We have ordered additional devices, and silver lining in all of this, with all of the devices that we've been purchasing to try to accommodate everyone, we are on a good path for having a one-to-one computer device initiative, probably by the beginning of next school year, where students will have a process at that point where students will be able to take a computer home and bring it back to school each day. And throughout this different learning environment, that our teachers have been learning so much more about technology and how to use it effectively in the classroom. So we're hopeful that when this temporary situation ends, and it is temporary, we know that at some point we'll be able to go back to full-time, 5-day-a-week in-person instruction. Hopefully in the next school year, a year from now, our students will be able to have computer access that they can bring back and forth from home to school. So at this point, I'm going to unshare the screen, and the panel and I will answer your questions. So if you didn't get a chance before, feel free to click on the Q&A button at the top or the bottom of your screen. And since we started, we have a few more members of our panel here with us today. We have Deputy Superintendent Sam Schneider. We have Executive Director for Curriculum, Instruction, and Professional Personnel, Dr. Lori Kerner. And Director of ELA, Dr. Maria Casamassa. Thank you for joining us. So Ms. Stevenson, where are we with, all right. Actually, before we get to that, Dr. Hudson, was there anything you wanted to add specifically about the middle school?
Thank you. Just first off, I really do want to thank all the parents that have reached out and together working collaboratively with us to make this a great year. We all, believe me, we understand and empathize with how difficult this is for you and especially your children. And we are going to do everything we can to make this as normal of a school year as we can. And I know that it's not, but we are going to do our best. I just real quick, just to go over a little bit of what a day in the middle school is going to look like. As Ms. Tona said, we're going to have the drop-offs in the front and parent drop-offs in the back. Temperature checks will be done as children walk in, and then they will go to their first period class. We will not be utilizing lockers this year to ensure safety and the grouping of students. So students will be allowed to carry backpacks this year with their belongings. They will continue to use the master notebook as they have in the past. They will be able to eat breakfast, obviously, every morning. We will do that in the cafeteria as well. Our cafeteria is already set up, and we have 6-foot seating arranged already. There is a normal bell passing. They will go, it'll be a normal day for the students. They will go to every single class they normally do, phys ed, health, tech, PE, everything. Bathrooms will be utilized as they normally have. There will only be 2 students allowed in the bathroom at a time. There will be markings outside, and bathrooms will be supervised throughout the day. Again, as I said, all specials will take place. There will not be locker room access for physical education, but please know it's going to be a little less strenuous than it has in the past, utilizing things like yoga. We will go outside as much as possible so students can get out, breathe a little bit, and as long as they're 6 feet apart outside, would not have to wear their masks. Lunch will be the same as it normally is, with the exception of normally we have approximately 250 students in the cafeteria. This year we'll have approximately 75 students. Again, 6 feet apart. They will not have to utilize the mask while they are eating, and we will systematically call students to the front to get their food and get online, again, to ensure 6-foot distancing. Dismissal at this point is going to be announced by wing, so we don't just ring a bell and have 300 students running out of the building. So again, we're just going to continually ensure students remain 6 feet apart, that they're safe, they're wearing their masks. Please know that we understand that these kids have gone through so much since March and have not been here in a long time. We are prepared with our social workers, our guidance counselors, psychologists, myself, and obviously all the teachers will be supporting and be compassionate with these students as they get back into their routines and we can get them where they need to be. So thank you, and let's get on to the questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. I think a lot of what you just shared was probably some of the questions that people have written in. So Ms. Stevenson, no, that's good, that's good. So Ms. Stevenson, if there is a question there that Dr. Hudson has already answered, I think we could move on from there because there's a lot of questions in the Q&A.
Okay, so, and actually, Ms. Tona, if you see something that you think we should take off, because just to let everyone know, we are at 51 questions right now, and I do have a number of duplicates. So we're going to start going through them in the order that they went in, but if you have a question, you may want to wait a little bit and see if it's already going to be asked by someone else. All right, so good. First question, will gym and band be first period as they have been in the past?
Yes, it'll be a normal schedule as it always has been. And again, to ensure the maximum of 12 students per class, we are utilizing every period and every class that we have.
Will students be able to carry backpacks?
Yes.
Will schedules be posted to the portal before the first day?
We're actually discussing that right now. Depending on what we're able to get out in the mail, there's a good possibility that will happen.
I missed the reopening survey that was due on the 17th. Is there a way we can complete the survey now?
Just give me a call. I have the document. I'll fill it out with you. No problem at all.
So they should just call the building?
Mhm.
Will seventh graders have a chance to tour the school before the first day to minimize some anxiety involved with moving to a new school?
Unfortunately, no. However, we are going to try the best we can to develop some type of video that'll be kind of a virtual tour of the building. Also, please know we're going to continue the first few times that the students are in. We always have our first couple days. We extend our first period. We get the kids settled in. We go over the master notebook. Now we're going to have to go over Google Classroom. We don't want any more anxiety placed on students. So we're going to take a little bit of time in the beginning of the school year to get students settled. We can work out some type of schedule doing tours within the building when they get in here. But I promise you they will have an opportunity to learn the building, know where they need to go, and nobody will get lost. I promise you that. But we will do everything we can to make it as easy of a transition as possible.
If there are only 17 kids in the Latin program, will that be offered in all 3 cohorts?
Yes, everything had to be divided equally, so everybody was divided by alphabet whenever possible. And again, like Ms. Tona said, unfortunately, the alphabet didn't always cooperate with us, so certain sections, because we did our master schedule, then we had to go through every single teacher's roster to ensure there were only 12 students in each of those sections. And at times in A through F, there might have been 14, so we had to move some kids around. Any student that was moved from their identified cohort, you will be getting a personal phone call from the school in the next day or two explaining that. So we will make sure everybody is aware of where they need to be. And just as an aside, we will be posting the cohort schedule online. We will make sure it's in the Google Classroom. We will put it up everywhere that we possibly can, because I know some parents were concerned about sending students in on the wrong days.
My child is a special education student. I will be at work while he's doing his online learning. If he needs help with an assignment, can he do that online assignment later in the day when I get home, or will he be penalized if he does that?
Absolutely and absolutely not. Nobody will be penalized for this. We understand, you know, depending, some teachers may not post their recording until the end of the day. We also are very aware that we don't want to post 2 hours worth of recordings at the end of the day, so students have to sit there and listen to 2 hours. So there will be a little bit of flexibility with how things are done. For instance, an English class may be working on a reading, working on a project, so the recording may be a reminder to follow various steps, to look at, you know, the content that was done the day before as they work through this project. It may not all be new learning every day for specific classes, but we are aware of what's happening outside of our walls.
Yeah, if I could just add to that also, that's one of the reasons why the recorded lessons are so important. The teachers will be recording a portion of their lesson while they have students in front of them, but the students in front of them will not be part of that recording. No one will see them. And the purpose of that is, that's why when Dr. Hudson said they may not post until the end of the day, because if that class takes place 8th period, and that's the only section of that class that teacher teaches, they're not going to get the chance to do that recording until 8th period. So they would be posting it after the day is over for students. So by giving the students at home recorded lessons, it gives the families the flexibility to determine who they want to have sit with the student if necessary, at what time of day. We know people work and some people work in the daytime, some people work at nighttime. So we're trying to provide as much flexibility as possible.
Here's one about, that's kind of a cross between the two different schedules. My son is starting 7th grade and he also has a brother in 3rd grade. Will they be on the same cohort day?
No, unfortunately not, because the elementary and the secondary schedules are different. There's no way to tie those cohorts in together.
This question, what electives are you referencing here that may not be available to remote students? Can you clarify?
Dr. Hudson, you don't have anything that at the middle school that won't be
No.
available. We're thinking if there's some type of a computer course at the high school. This question is best answered by Mr. O'Hara, but if it's a computer course that they actually need a specific program and it's not able to be put on a laptop or a Chromebook, some art classes with like a photography class may be challenging. So those will be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Certainly if the student can still access and they have the materials at home, they can still participate in that class. So we're looking at which classes can run virtually as well as in person. But like I said, there's no substitute for in-person instruction. And for some electives, it will be very difficult for the student to successfully complete the course without the materials in front of them.
Is there a required type of mask? Are neck gaiters okay?
Yeah, any type of a face covering is fine. Mr. Jacobellis is wearing a neck gaiter right now, so that's fine. And I think, Mr. Culhane, you have a regular mask on? See, so, thank you.
This question, I counted 146 students, letters A through F, from last year's yearbook, incoming 7th graders. Assuming it's about the same for 8th grade, you have roughly 300 students in the school at one time. With these numbers, why couldn't the middle school follow the same cohort schedule as K-6 and have the students in school more?
You got that, Dr.
Yeah,
Hudson?
sure. It's really based on the schedule. We have a number of classes that are 30 students or more, and there was no way to break it down equally like that. In elementary, there's 25 students in a class, so it's more consistent. We don't have that availability here, so it's not possible,
It's all
unfortunately.
about the social distancing.
Right.
So as Dr. Hudson said, with a cap of 25 on the elementary level, and we're looking at 12 to 14, depending on the classroom, we can have 2 cohorts in elementary. But at the middle school and high school, there are some classes that may run with 18 or 20 students in them, but there are others that will run with 28 to 30 students and sometimes more than 30. And in order to keep the 12 to 14 students in a classroom, there was no way that we could do this with 2 cohorts in the secondary level.
This question has a few questions in it. So what is the current opt-out rate? And I think that's probably referring to opting out of the hybrid. And so will the number of cohorts be decreased if there is a large opt-out rate to allow for increased live instruction? Why are there double days, AABBCC, instead of ABC?
Okay, thank you. The opt-out rate numbers, they're still fluctuating because some people are calling in. So we're hovering at about 13–14% of the population district-wide. And that's different depending on the building. So the principals received that information earlier this week and they're going through that, as well as taking calls from people who have not completed the survey. So at this point, we can't give final numbers yet because we don't have final numbers. People are still calling. But the question about can the number of cohorts be decreased if there's a large opt-out rate? Now, the the middle school and the high school, as we said, this is a temporary situation. We hope it's a very temporary situation, and we can get back to full-time in-person instruction this year. So the middle school and the high school had to run a traditional master schedule, and it's very complicated to meet the needs of all the students with all of the different requests, especially as the students get to 8th grade and there's some more choices involved, and definitely at the high school level, that to run a full schedule and be able to offer all of the electives that the students can access, we needed to run a full day. And in order to do that, that's why the 3 cohorts are there. And we also offer the opportunity for families to opt back in and out, because we anticipate that we're hoping, this is all an unknown, but we're confident that we're going to get this up and running, and we're going to provide the best education for the students in the hybrid model as is possible, given the constraints that we have. And there may be families who may change their mind and say, I think I want my child to be in person 2 days a week, once they see how it goes. And we need to have those seats available for those students. And we need to run that master schedule the way we're doing it, because if we go back to normal times, that's the master schedule the students will follow. So we felt that by giving the least amount of disruption was the best way for us to provide all of the opportunities for the students. And then looking at the double day, that was conversations. We had meetings all summer long. We had all constituencies represented, teachers, administrators, parents, staff members, and we went through many, many different options. And especially on the secondary level, when they have science and science labs, we felt it was important for the double day, so that if a teacher was going to offer a science lab, that sometimes they take more than 1 day to complete. And by making the 2 days consistent, as well as all the other teachers, it's easier to have 2 solid days of instruction. If a lesson takes 2 days, there's no gap in between those lessons. So the committees felt that was the best way to move forward.
I have a couple of questions regarding special needs students. For special needs in person, are they in self-contained classrooms? And if so, how many days?
The 8-1 students and the 12-1 students will be in 5 days a week. And then the other students will be in 2 days a week, 4 days remote, but they still get support services. Do you want to add anything to that, Dr. Hudson?
No, that's exactly right. We have the one class where they will be in 5 days a week. All the students will be following their regular schedule.
Will special needs classes have the option to opt out of specials, for example, tech and art, where there is a combined classroom with typical children?
That not at this time. The inclusion is a big part of the program, and their schedule will be as it has always been. So that hasn't been asked before, and I haven't considered that.
Yeah, if you have a specific question about that, you could give Dr. Hudson or Mrs. Mazzafarro a call. I did have a conversation briefly with Mrs. Mazzafarro, our PPS director, about possibly doing a special ed meeting next week for parents. So we're looking into scheduling something to answer specific questions for parents of special needs students.
Okay, and then also regarding special needs children, will they be traveling the hallways separate from the typical children?
No, they are typical children. They're a part of the group. They're part of the family. If they need assistance, they will have that with them, and we will all travel in the directional hallways and be safe. And if certain situations come up, we'll adapt to whatever those need to be.
All right, now what type of interaction will be allowed at lunch? Will the kids be sitting alone or able to socialize?
They will be sitting 6 feet apart. We have the tables arranged. Yeah, they'll be able to talk to each other, socialize as much as possible, but it will have to be at 6 feet apart, unfortunately.
To be clear, if cases pop up, contact tracing will take place, but the school will not close. Can you expand on this? And what is the district's policy on shutting down if cases do pop up?
Mr. Culhane, do you want to take that one?
The bottom line is if there's a positive case, we'll work in conjunction with the Suffolk County Department of Health Services and be guided by their advice as far as contact tracing, how widespread it is, and if there is a need to shut down the school. We will not make that decision unilaterally without conversing and collaborating with the experts at the Department of Health.
Thank you.
Why is only a portion of the lesson recorded and not the entire lesson?
Do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Mainly, if a student has 7 classes and we recorded 42 minutes of each class, I think that would almost be impossible and extraordinarily overwhelming for them. So the teachers will record the specific and important content areas of the lesson that the students absolutely need. And, teachers will be available, to answer questions as the days go on. It's not perfect, unfortunately, but I think recording a full 42-minute lesson would really be just stressful in the end for students at home for that expectation. I don't think it will be possible.
Yes, it won't look the same. In person will definitely look the same. Will not look the same as someone at home. There's individual work that the teacher assigns during the course of the period that then it would be silence on the recording, where the teacher could still set the lesson up at the beginning, record it, where the student at home will know this is the do now, and here's the lesson, set them up to know what they need to do, and then the student can complete the work independently.
And continuing on with the recorded lessons, there was a question, someone wanted to know if we would be able to provide a sample of what the recorded lesson will be like.
We won't have that ready. We won't have it until the students are in front of the teachers. The teachers are going to get additional training on September 1st and 2nd on how to do this process. We've had teachers and administrators that have come in during the summer who have tried it out so that we know that this is the direction we want to go in. And, we just ask for everyone's patience. This is uncharted territory. This is not any type of delivery of instruction that any of us on this call or any of our teachers have specifically prepared for in teacher preparation courses. So they are doing a fantastic job. Our teachers are committed to our students and they want to do what's best, but we just ask families to please have patience. There's going to be some kinks in this in the beginning. It's not going to be a smooth start, but it will get better as the week goes on. We've been discussing that ourselves, that it's a lot of unknowns, and we're doing our best to prepare for unknowns, and we're not going to know what needs to be tweaked or changed until we are in the thick of the instruction, and then we can reflect, and we will, as we have been in the past. In the spring we did as well, and make changes as needed.
We have a couple of questions about the amount of individual contact with teachers for students that are on full remote. So I'm going to kind of try to combine those questions a little bit. So this one is there going to be an opportunity for individual contact with teachers for full remote? And then another parent pointed out that this contact, this live interaction was really critical this summer for their students. And then another one is double checking, so there will be no live interaction for full remote. There's some confusion about the amount of interaction.
The full remote, there will be some interaction. It won't be to the same level as students who are in person, but those students will have the same access to the lesson and the activities that go along with it. But the teachers will be in contact with those students as well. But it's important to remember that our secondary teachers have students in front of them 5 days a week, 5 classes a day. So during their preparation periods, that would be the time that they could check in possibly with students that are on full remote. We're looking at ways that we can have other teachers check in with the full remote students and other staff members as well to just have that opportunity. but it's definitely, we're trying to do our best. We thought it was very important that we kept those students on the roster with the teacher so that they can access that teacher, that content area teacher's lesson.
Yeah, please, just as an aside, please also note, in part of, constructing the master schedule, we are continuing our team time. So teachers will have the opportunity, it will more likely, it'll be virtual this year, but we can still have parent meetings during that time. If there's questions or concerns, that is an opportunity for families and teachers as well to make contact with each other.
And then there was a question, will there be any class recordings available in real time?
No.
No. Okay. All right, sorry, I'm going back up. I was just trying to see if there were any more on that theme. What is the recourse if students do not follow mask protocol?
Each case will be taken individually. Obviously, as Ms. Tona said in the beginning, all students, all staff must wear masks. If it's, a matter of a kid having, if it's a matter of a student having difficulty, we can bring them to a counselor, social worker, contact parents. If it ends up being a disciplinary issue where they're just outright refusing, we would call to have them taken home. There's unfortunately no option with that.
And then continuing with masks, there was a question about using face shields, and then a parent who identified their student as being autistic who's unable to wear a mask, can they wear a face shield?
Students that have specific reasons for not wearing a mask, we encourage you to contact either Dr. Hudson or Mrs. Mezzafaro, and we will work through that with you.
How do we get a Chromebook for our child?
Please call me.
What do you expect bus capacity to be, and how is seating going to be handled on the bus?
Mr. Schneider?
Okay, so thanks very much for that question. We're looking at having no more than 21 or 22 kids on a bus, students on a bus, unless there are families that are multiple students in that family or that household going to the same school, in which case those students can sit in the same seats together so that we can slightly increase the capacity of the bus. But mostly it's going to be 21 to 22 students on a bus. Students are going to have to wear masks while they're on the bus. Our bus drivers will have masks to give to students if they don't have one at the bus stop. And parents should coordinate with their students to make sure their students are going out on the right days for the bus. If people have questions about the bus, I see there's a question coming up a little bit later about who to call to make specific bus arrangements. If somebody is on remote and then wants to go back into the regular school, people should call the transportation department. The number is 369-6720, and they will be able to help out with transportation, specific transportation concerns you may have for your child.
Will the students have access to lockers?
No, as I said in the beginning, in the secondary level, both here and at the high school, students will not have access to the lockers. One reason is they're middle school students and they love to socialize and be together, and it would just make things very difficult for them. And again, for safety purposes, we're going to restrict that, as well as for cleaning purposes.
And then there's another question more about clarity for switching classes. So can you discuss the process of switching classes and sharing desks with several students throughout the day? Will the teachers be wiping down desks between period classes?
The process is a regular school day. Again, with only 12 students in classes and a third of the students in the building, there will be much less students in the hallways. The hallways will be directional, will be marked, and they will remain 6 feet apart. Students, there are only 12 desks or 12 tables in every single classroom. Everything else was taken out. Teachers will not be wiping down desks. Ms. Tona, did you want to talk about the product that we're going to be utilizing?
Yes, we discussed just recently, we're going to be, I think it was ordered, like paper placemats that the students are just, they're disposable. The students will pick them up when they walk into the classroom. They'll be able to put them down in the space and that they're going to work on, so that they're not touching the desk, they're touching that paper area. You know, with students changing classes every 42 minutes, 45 minutes, it is physically impossible for our staff to wipe down every desk. There will be some wipes available in the classrooms as well, and there'll be disinfecting stations, like sanitization stations throughout the building also. So students will have access to those on a regular basis.
My daughter plays violin. When she'll be bringing that to school, will she have to carry it from class to class, or is there somewhere safe that she can leave it during the day?
Yes, we will find somewhere safe for her to leave it. We will not expect students to carry their instruments throughout the day. And I will discuss that with the, I'm sorry, I will discuss that with the music teachers to make sure that information is explained to all those students.
You mentioned on the first screen, there's not enough staff to handle 5 days of study. Can Mrs. Stevenson please confirm for me the rumors? Is it true that ESL students are being allowed to have 4 days of in-classroom study? This is the first I'm hearing of this rumor. The ENL students are following the same cohorts as the other students. They are not getting additional classroom time. Will there be any clubs offered before, after, during school, such as student council?
No, unfortunately not.
That's due to the contingent budget. We are unable to have any clubs or activities at the middle school this year.
What are the plans for kids with IEP and 504 plans who will not be able to attend on campus? And specifically, they're asking about counseling and any other special needs.
All accommodations that are on a student's IEP will be provided to the best that we can. We've had these conversations with Mrs. Mazzafarro, and there is a plan in place. More information would be best shared by her. And as I mentioned earlier, we're looking to have some type of a forum for families for special education information.
Are there any plans going forward to increase classroom time, increase days per week as the year goes on?
We will continue to reflect on what we're doing. We certainly hope that the powers that be in the government lift some of the restrictions so that we can assemble more students together at one time. That would allow us to bring students in more frequently, but we have to take the direction from the governor and the Suffolk County executive should he be made the decision maker for Suffolk County.
How do you plan to keep bathrooms clean between students?
Mr. Jacobellis?
Hi, thanks for the question. We're moving to a completely touchless bathroom environment. We're not going to have hand dryers, it's going to be paper towels. We're not going to have flush toilets, they'll all be automatic flushes and all be automatic sinks. We'll sanitize the bathrooms throughout the day as often as possible.
If a child doesn't get on the bus initially, who will have to be contacted for the student to get bused to school again? I guess if they start virtually and then go to hybrid?
If it's simply buses, they would contact the bus garage. If it's that they were virtual and would like to come into hybrid, just give me a call.
Right, and just to review, if questions on transportation specific to your child, please call the transportation department 369-6720, and they will be able to speak to you about your specific needs for your child.
Are the students bringing in their own supplies, and are they bringing them back and forth from school to home?
Students, I did post the supply list for the 2020-21 school year online. It is on the middle school webpage. Students, as always, will have their master schedule and hopefully be able to fit all their information and materials in that. They will be able to carry their backpack back and forth. I would not leave supplies in school. So yes, they would be taking things back and forth. Some students may also be taking their Chromebooks back and forth to utilize in class as well.
Will there be an area for kids to go if they need to take off the masks for a minute?
Right now we have set times at the end of each period. We have 3 minutes where they will be able to remove their mask if there's a specific situation. we will deal with that with each individual situation. And if we need to, we can, we can deal with that. We'll bring him to somewhere, or he or she somewhere.
Okay,
I'm
before
not
we move
allowing
on-
my,
Oh, just,
Sorry. Go ahead.
Stevenson, if you can make note that wherever we are at the last question, I
Mhm.
just at the 10:49, we're not going to take any more questions.
I'm not allowing my kids to use hand sanitizer. Will baby wipes be okay?
Mr. Jacobello?
Yeah, if you're comfortable with that, that's fine. We'll be providing some cloth sanitizers for cleaning of surfaces in the classrooms and whatnot, but if you're more comfortable with your child bringing in their own wipes, that's fine.
Will students be changing for gym?
No, they won't have access to the locker rooms.
There's some appreciation for our hard work. And someone wants to know what numbers will shut down a class or a school.
Mr. Culhane, you want to take that?
Yeah, as I said before, we're not going to arbitrarily shut down the school without first consulting with the experts at the Department of Health in Suffolk County. So we'll be guided by their recommendations, and we'll work very closely with them and the health professionals.
My daughter's personal laptop that she used for 6th grade is not working. Can she loan a Chromebook from school for 7th grade?
Please give me a call.
Where is the drop-off and pickup for the walkers?
In the rear of the building.
What happens if someone wants to quit band and have another subject?
Please contact the guidance office.
Will students be bringing their devices, I guess their Chromebooks and laptops, back and forth to school so they can be used in the classroom for instruction?
They certainly can, yes. And some teachers may want to do that, especially being on the Google Classroom platform.
Any updates on the possibility for middle school sports?
Unfortunately, as Ms. Tona said, with the contingent budget at this point, this is not an option.
If I have a child in middle school and a child at the high school, should they be in different cohorts if we want them to be home together on virtual days?
If you would like them home together, they should be on the same cohorts because the middle school and the high school have the exact same schedule. If you have any questions about that, if you would like something specific, again, as Ms. Tona said, regarding childcare, just please reach out to me and we will work with you.
Yeah, the default is if they're siblings, they're going to be in the same cohort. That's what the high school and middle school are working together. But if there's an exception to that, to let the principals know.
Approximately how many students are expected to attend in person?
Right now, probably around 800.
Oh, well, that's how many you typically have.
No, we have about 900.
Okay.
If my children are remote for the first days of school, how will we get codes to join the Google class? I believe they're being synced automatically that it's just going to be there for all of them, right?
Yeah.
That was
we
the last
we
I
will
heard.
also email, we can post things on our e-board still. We will get that information out, or we will send that out in the mailing if it's possible.
So again, there's more questions about logging on online for students that are virtual the first day. Does middle school offer, I'm sorry.
No, good.
Okay. Does middle school offer home ec? And if so, how will this be handled for full remote students?
There will be specific assignments that will be easily done at home that will kind of coordinate with what's happening in the class. We were actually just speaking with the teachers yesterday about this. So we're going to do as much as we possibly can. You know, again, it's not going to be perfect, but they will still get the instruction. They will still get the experience. And again, still have the opportunity to come in and continue that live instruction.
Can you switch your cohort from, let's say, B to A?
There would have to be a really good reason, because we're building them right now and we have to maintain 12 students max in a class, and it's not very easy to do that. And if we move somebody else may have to move as well. So it's kind of a domino effect.
Is there still going to be advanced classes, for example, math and science?
Absolutely. As Ms. Tona said, part of the reason we wanted 2 consecutive days in earth science, you have a class and then a lab, we wanted to make sure that that was intact.
Will there be a live option for the special needs children that have someone will be sitting with them navigating their day?
As of right now, it will be the recorded lessons and things like that. Resource room and self-contained students may have a little bit different of an option with students.
There will be some live Google Meet sessions scheduled for students that need small group instruction, resource rooms, speech therapy. Dr. Kearney, you want to elaborate on that? I see you nodding.
Yeah, thank you. We're actually working on a schedule now to look at possibilities for the children who are on full virtual and which teachers then would be checking in with them on a daily basis to make sure that they're engaged and respond to any questions that they might have. So thank you for the question.
Do students need notes if they are not taking a bus on a specific day? For instance, due to daycare, juggling, etc., my child might not take the bus home occasionally.
Yeah, as in every other year, if you're changing your child from being taking the bus to being picked up, who they're being picked up by, yes, a note would be appreciated.
Can I just add something to that, though, before I go any further? Unfortunately, due to the contingent budget this year, there are no after-school buses. So if your child is not going to be on that dismissal bus, please know that you're going to have to pick up your child from the middle school yourself. There is no 4 or 5 o'clock bus from either the middle school or the high school this year.
How will lab be addressed for a remote learner?
Again, with the lab specifically, that's why we had 2 days a week, and there will be, I'm sure, some type of follow-up review that they will be able to do at home. But they will be working in labs when they are in school.
Why are the 1511s not going in 5 days a week?
Specifically because of numbers. Those students, if they only remained in the 1511, that may not be an issue, but because they attend specials and other areas in the building, those numbers 5 days a week would bring the other numbers, the special area numbers, over 12, and we were not able to do it.
There are a couple of questions that are about concerns about the full lesson not being recorded. There seems to be some confusion that the students at home are not getting the entire lesson.
Part of the lessons that aren't going to be recorded are really the student-teacher interaction in the class. The full lesson content, the full instruction that is needed is what is going to be recorded. You're not going to miss out on instruction. You're going to miss out on some of the management type pieces within the classroom.
Are you going to be using Google Meet for classroom instruction?
Yes.
For the 8th graders, do they have both art and tech, or do they only choose one? My daughter sees art on her schedule and would rather have tech.
For 8th grade, it's actually art and health. 7th grade is home and careers and general music. So if there's a question about that, please give me a call, give the guidance office a call, and if that's a mistake.
How many nurses will be in the building at the middle school?
2 for most of the day.
There's a question again that seems a little specific about special needs students traveling in the hallway. I think that would probably be one for the parent to contact you directly, Dr. Hudson.
They could do, again, if in general, everyone's going to be moving in the hallways together. Yes, there are very specific instances that we would address specifically. So in some situations, yes, students would be with an aide or with somebody, moving throughout the building individually. Yeah, that may still absolutely happen, whatever the needs of the children are.
And it would be the same as if it was a typical schedule with all of the students in the building at the same time. If the student needs assistance to walk through the hallways to get to the next class, that would happen. The difference is there'll be at least only 1/3 of the amount of students in the building as opposed to all of the students in the building. So the hallways will be less congested.
It appears we have a student participating who would like to know if he has the option to stay home and not go to school at all, or is it mandatory?
Benjamin, that's something you would have to discuss with your parents. There is an option to remain fully remote, but there's also a wonderful option to come in and be live instructed and have live teaching with your teachers.
Will the student be able to contact the teacher after school while they're looking at the recording of the lesson in case they have questions on the lesson?
Yeah, of course. You know, this is a typical school year, so you know, teachers will, you know, are available, you know, via email. Again, team time is an option. You know, it is going to be a little bit different than the full remote that we were in initially, because teachers are teaching full days, so they're in class the majority of the day. But yes, it is absolutely an option.
How is bands going to work?
Band is going to be small group, basically. We are allowed, band members have to stay 12 feet apart while they are in the band room for safety purposes. So we had to add a few more sections of band. So it will probably be broken down for the most part by instrument. There will be no large group band performances at this point. And that's with all the music.
So how long will the online classes take?
The average recording will probably be about 20 minutes. How long it takes to complete the assignments is really an individual aspect.
There's other questions about gym and changing for gym, but we're not changing for gym. I think
We're
we've
not
answered
changing
that
for gym,
already.
and again, it's the intensity of what's happening in gym is going to be substantially less. As I explained, yoga, some social emotional learning type aspects. If we're able to get outside, we will do that, but the expectation is not where children are necessarily going to be sweating per se, unfortunately.
Do the children still have to have binders?
Yes, we are going to be having our master notebook. It is a wonderful way to stay efficient and keep all your classes in order. So we are absolutely continuing with that.
Will students be permitted to carry their own hand sanitizer?
Sure.
Yes, they're allowed to carry their own hand sanitizer. However, we're not allowed to have alcohol-based hand sanitizer on the bus. So the busing could be a concern.
That's by law. That's because of the flammability of hand sanitizer. You can't have it on a vehicle.
If students cannot wear a mask in the cafeteria, why do they have to wear them in classrooms?
They will be wearing masks in the cafeteria when they're not eating, but obviously during eating, they would have to take them off. The cafeteria is also a much larger space with a little more ventilation than a typical classroom.
Our priority is to keep the students and the staff as safe as possible. And guidance that we've been provided, even though we are having the students at least 6 feet apart in the classrooms, the extra precaution of having the mask further protects our students and staff.
All right, and our last question was, will there be a basketball team during winter?
Unfortunately, no. Well, no.
Now, based on the contingent budget, we weren't able to include any sports or clubs at the middle school level or at the high school level. And we're sorry for that, but that's what we're working under a contingent budget this year. So
And then that's the end of our questions.
we made it through all the questions. We hope it was helpful to you. This is being recorded. We'll have this up on the website later today. Dr. Hudson, is there anything you wanted to add?
Just again, thank you all for participating today, those who were able to. Again, I am here all the time. If you need or you think of any other questions, please do not hesitate to email or give me a call. I will certainly be happy to answer.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to Ms. Stevenson for her assistance in moderating today. And we hope you and your family are well and continue to be so. Thank you.
Thank you.